Welcome to the eCom Collab Club podcast, where operators, risk takers, and battle-tested founders drop the lessons that cost them time, money, and their sanity, and share what actually works so you don't have to pay the same price. Hosted by Peter Gardner and Adam Pierce, founders of the eCom Collab Club and Blend Commerce, the Shopify CRO agency, and proudly sponsored by OmniSend. Email and SMS marketing so good, it's boring.
So making the sale, that's just the first pour, and the real flavor kicks in after checkout. Now, today we are shaking things up with Tom Mays from Edmunds Cocktails, a brand so obsessed with post-purchase charm, they hire staff for their handwriting. Yeah, really, their handwriting. Now, if you want casual buyers to become Cocktail Club regulars, pull up a bar stool, and by God, I hope you enjoyed, Tom, all of those lovely cocktail-related puns. ChatGPT may have helped us in some way, shape, or form. But Tom, welcome to the show, mate. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Finally, a good use for AI that I've just discovered from you there as well. Thanks. Next time I'm after a pun.
For every speaking opportunity that you do, that there are cocktail-related puns, I think.
Cocktail puns. It'll be on the list of things I require.
Yeah. I love how Adam's blaming this on ChatGPT. Meanwhile, he's just been sending on our Slack channel a whole bunch of different puns about synonym roles and grammar and who knows what else. Don't blame ChatGPT for
I'm entering dad joke territory, which you entered probably about 15 years ago, even though you were never a dad then. But anyway, I'll shut up now.
Longer. Tom, good to have you on with us today, mate. And for those people that haven't stalked you yet or don't know you, haven't seen you at the eCom Collab Club London, could you give us the origin story? Go as deep and as far back as possible and let us know exactly how you got to where you are now. Doing what you do with Edmunds.
Yeah, so Edmunds it's a family-run company, so it's owned by me and my brother, basically. We started development back in 2018. We kind of launched at the end of 2019. My background is basically just in the alcohol industry, so working in bars, cocktail bars when I was, like 17 to 21. Then I moved on. I started working for WKD, which was a wicked job. There's another pun for you there. But yeah, so kind of moved on. Yeah, cheeky Vimto. Then I did a bit of time at Bacardi, Carlsberg, Heineken. So I was like working in the on-trade basically, which is kind of like pubs, bars and restaurants. So I was doing that for 10, 12 years. Really enjoyed it, like incredible experience, kind of just going around, kind of talking to bartenders, learning about the industry. But one of the things that I kind of like realized was that you had all these like customers going out basically, and it's really difficult for bartenders or bar owners to like successfully make really good cocktails given the kind of like type of stuff that were out there. In London, it's a little bit different because you've got like professional bartenders, but in the smaller towns, in the villages and things like that, you kind of had these people that were doing it for a few years before going to uni, or they'd come back and do it. So no one that was really focused on learning mixology basically. So you had all these customers going into these bars and they were wanting drinks that were a little bit different to like a wine or a beer. But then you had like this kind of staff gap and training shortage, which meant that they couldn't do it. So that's where that's where Edmunds came from basically. So we kind of wanted to make it really easy for bars to serve great tasting cocktails quickly, easily and consistently, but without sacrificing like quality or taste. And there wasn't really anyone else doing it. So, I mean, essentially all we kind of decided to do was make genuine bar quality, real cocktails using the exact same ingredients that I would have made if I was making it fresh, or if you'd gone onto the BBC Good Food website and you'd taken an ingredients list and you'd done it yourself. We just do that. We put it in a bottle. And then we kind of give people that ability. And from there, we've gone, we started making them in my kitchen, pouring them through this like tiny little funnel when we were doing sort of like 30, 40 cocktails a day. We converted my brother's garage. That was the beginning of 2020, basically during COVID. He and his wife had just moved into a brand new house, and they didn't have anything to do with the garage yet. So she was quite patient with us and let us convert it into a little warehouse kind of production room, basically. And then we'd make cocktails in their kitchen. And then we moved on to like an 800 square foot unit, kind of purpose built for us. That got too small. Within sort of 7 months, we moved to like 2,000 square foot. We then knocked down a wall. We had 3,000 square foot. And then about 7 months ago, we just moved into like an 8,000 square foot kind of unit where we produce everything ourselves, basically. So it's quite cool. We've grown quite quickly. A lot of my friends and family kind of work for us. So me and my brother started it. My brother's wife, Beth, works for us. My dad works for us. My best mate works for us. And we've kind of grown quite organically in that direction, basically. So it's a fun company to work for.
Yeah. And so you guys are now producing the actual alcohol yourself, you're saying, and then mixing those, or are you still getting that as an ingredient delivered to you?
Ingredients delivered to us. So I mean, to be honest, during COVID was a strange time for us. So we would literally go to Tesco's and we'd be buying hundreds of bottles off the shelf. The amount of card points I got that year was insane. I don't think I paid for any food that year based on my club card points. But so the idea was basically like we'd had to use branded spirits. So you'd go in there and you'd use sort of I don't know what it might be. So like martini, or at the moment we use like El Rey and we use sapling, etc. So it'd be kind of branded spirits that people recognize. We mix them together in a giant mixing tank, basically. We are now at the point where we have our own like liqueurs distilled. So like we still use some branded ones. There was some that we couldn't find the quality of in the UK, like from a supplier that could do bulk. So we would then go to like a distillery in the UK and we would say like, look, this is what we want. We want a great passion fruit liqueur. This is what we want it to taste like. This is what we want it to look like. And they kind of make it for us. So we're kind of outsourcing some of the distilling. So like the liqueurs and things like that we have made for us.
Yeah. And when did you guys start to realize that, okay, cool, shit, we are onto something here. This is a good idea. Let's carry on. Let's, quit our day jobs and let's do this.
Yeah, to be honest, so when we first started, it was like a lifestyle business. But basically, we were kind of thinking we could just sell to pubs and bars in East Anglia, make £1.50 a cocktail. We could go around. It was like dead simple. We were so unambitious that it's probably a bit daft looking back. But because of COVID, basically, the idea was it's supposed to be on trade only, so kind of like a white labeled product.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, we had to pivot quite quickly. So we started selling online, which is kind of what you see now. That was just crazy because everyone during COVID turned into an alcoholic at home, didn't they? So all of a sudden we had all these people just ordering. I don't know where they found us. They were just ordering online and we were sending out. It was just absolutely crazy trying to kind of keep up. But we always kind of knew that was probably just a moment in time because of COVID. Like it was never going to be this like sustainable. So we couldn't take that as our point. But it was after a lockdown. I think it was like April 2021, something like that. Yeah. We're in this little 800 square foot unit buying the alcohol from like supermarkets and all that kind of stuff and like being proper scrappy, trying to find bottles. All of a sudden, we went from selling online. We found out that lockdown was going to open up and the pubs and bars and restaurants were going to open up. We just started getting phone calls come through from like pub owners, restaurant owners, bar owners. There's this kind of like Facebook group basically. And a couple of customers on this Facebook group had discovered us, like pubs. And there was about 20,000 people on there. They just started recommending us and we started getting all these customers. We went from doing like alcohol sales online in 1 month to before they'd even opened. So pre-orders that we had to like start sending out for day one of lockdown ending. We did like 30,000 cocktails that month, just from A to B. And at that point I was like, okay, crap, I need to hand in my notice. Like I need to kind of quit my job basically. And then it kind of we added another 25% the next month. And that's when Paul was like, oh dear, like something's going to go wrong here. Like we've actually got something good. So, within 2 months of that lockdown closing, basically, we both handed in our notices. And then my brother's wife already worked for us full time. So she was doing that so she was making the cocktails, customer service. She was doing pretty much everything while me and Paul were focusing on like a little bit of sales and things like that. But it was kind of all after work. Within that 2 months, we'd all gone like, Jesus, there's something actually that could work here. So let's kind of stack in our jobs and go all in.
Shit. It sounds exciting and scary at the same time. And have you found that your experience in your professional career before starting the business is directly tied to your success with what you've been doing, and does it closely relate?
Yeah, massively so. So I'd spent my entire career basically selling into pubs, bars, restaurants, like learning about how they worked. So we kind of went in with not just like a kind of contact list for the local area, kind of East Anglia where I'd worked, but also like just the knowledge of how it works. So it was kind of like, okay, well, the customers need to make X amount of money per cocktail. Like their margin needs to be 60 to 80%. So we need to create a product that we can sell to them and they can make 60 to 80%. So it'd be like, okay, how much can they sell a cocktail for? At the time, it was, let's say, £9 on average. So we would then work backwards and we would go in and we would say, this is the price you can buy it from us for. You're going to sell it for this. And it made the decision so easy for them because it was like, well, it tastes as good as a like freshly made cocktail. We even supplied the garnish as well. That came from it. So it was just like they didn't have to worry about anything. We just sort of said, we'll provide you cocktail menus. We'll provide you garnish. We'll give you some glasses. We did training videos online. Like all of that came from like my previous experience, knowing what the kind of bar owners, restaurant owners, managers would want.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, Tom, look, I think me and Peter could probably talk to you all day with this, and I think, look, it's I've heard about your story before, and I think it's a real inspiration to those people who have kind of, got a passion that they want to turn into a business and a real functioning business. Showing the growth you got is amazing. But today we want to kind of go into specifics, I guess, the post-purchase side of what you do. And Peter's going to come on to when you came to eCom Collab Club last week and tell us about that. But immediately, what I want to ask you is that when it comes to the online sales, and obviously the e-commerce sales that people are tuning to be interested about, is that when a customer clicks buy, what is kind of that first touch point for you guys with those customers? And did you design it in a particular way initially that way, or is that morphed over time?
Yeah, so to be honest, it's changed quite a bit over time. We actually started out because we weren't planning to be an e-commerce business. We were kind of supposed to be kind of B2B only. We actually started out with Squarespace, which was a big mistake when you're trying to run an e-commerce business compared to, we moved over to Shopify now, which has given us like so much more flexibility. Our kind of key consideration when we were like setting up online is making sure that customers know that we're slightly different to like a canned cocktail. So we really go into like focusing on like the educational piece. So we make sure that once they click buy, they kind of see exactly what they've got. It's like we again go in on the ingredients they're using. We tell them that we encourage, not tell, I should say, but all the cocktails should be shaken properly. So it's like that next step is then sort of saying like your cocktails are on your way. Please follow the instructions on the back of every bottle to make sure that you're enjoying it the best way, the way we would like you to. Because so many people, and we still see this, you have people kind of just necking it from the bottle and they're not made to be drank that way, so they don't taste as good. So we really go straight into encouraging people to enjoy them like how we would, and we sort of go into like, oh, a cocktail is, for us, it's about like an experience. It's a bit like a ritual. So again, we provide the garnishes online. So we mentioned in like all the post-purchase stuff that they should be garnishing the cocktails because like it looks great. So it's going to taste great. You're going to get the cocktail experience. So we really, as soon as people, even from before they're buying it to before it's delivered, all of our kind of marketing is around that, basically trying to get them to think of it differently to a traditional RTD.
I mean, I think, look, brands listening to this, guys, I hate you taking notes because this is, I think, an issue still within e-commerce a lot, is that you're approaching this as you guys, you are effectively providing a service, aren't you? You're providing a service whereby they can have that high quality cocktail experience at home. That's what you bring. You're not thinking about it just as a product. And I think that's obviously reflected in what you do. And I think this is still an issue a lot of the time with post-purchase emails, is that they don't think about that process of delivering the information they need. You said that had morphed and changed over time. Why did it change, and what was it previously?
So it used to be very generic. It used to be very kind of like, thank you for your order. Do you know what I mean? Like it was very like we didn't pay, to be completely honest. Like it was only maybe 2 years ago that we really realized that we had this huge opportunity online. Like it wasn't kind of a big thing for us. As soon as we realized that, we then just started like incrementally improving it. and we kind of went away from being too salesy. Like I think like I can't remember the exact ratio, but like we've now got this kind of like set where we try to be more. One, we ask for a lot of feedback. That's really important to us. And I think people genuinely value that question. We don't just ask them for positive feedback. We kind of offer people like a small discount. So it would be like, okay, I can't remember what it is, £5 off your next order for genuinely honest feedback. And then we look at all of it and then we take that on board, because it's great seeing loads of positive feedback, but actually you need some constructive stuff to see where you're kind of going wrong and what you could do. So yeah, we've improved it slowly over time, and I think we've now gone less salesy, more educational, bit more interesting. Because I think actually, like a lot of consumers, they don't need someone to just email them and say, "Oh, look, you could have bought this from us instead." Like, "Oh, you could add glassware." They know they can add glassware. They know that, don't they? But actually, they want to say might want to learn a bit about our story, like who's Elaine and Alison that are bottling and labeling the cocktails for them, all of that kind of stuff. I think, and I personally think that's the way a lot of brands, the successful brands I see, are going in that direction. You don't want to be some sort of like faceless multinational company. If you've got genuine people that you can talk about that are doing things for you and things like that, customers want to hear about it.
All the way. Yeah. And I mean, I think, for me, I think that turning point was kind of the COVID period, because suddenly when people had more time to research the companies they were buying from, they had more time to really kind of do less than their due diligence. I feel like that's something that has kind of continued beyond COVID, and that now people, like you said, they do want to buy into the company rather than just the product itself. I mean, the other thing is with obviously the post-purchase piece as well. I'm pretty sure you guys do email, you do SMS, and you inserts in terms of that post-purchase experience, don't you?
Yeah.
When it comes to being able to kind of track those, two double-sided question here. One is like, can you accurately measure with each of those activities what does drive next purchase? And secondly is, from those three, do you know or have a feeling for which of those generally does then kick them to that next purchase?
Yeah, it's difficult. So we don't do SMS, so we don't actually do that yet. We're looking at WhatsApp actually, and that's come from actually the the eCom collab, like the kind of talk last week. Actually, that was really interesting from those guys. So WhatsApp is something we're looking at. Email is really easy for us to track because all of the kind of tracking links that you can put in. Like, I'm not too technical, but like it's dead accurate basically, and it lasts like a couple of days afterwards. So if someone follows the email, we can kind of see that quite accurately. In terms of like the inserts and things like that, it's a little bit more difficult. You're almost doing it and then kind of taking a punt that it's the right decision. So the way we look at that, we don't look at it as in, is this going to help us convert X amount of customers? We actually look at it and say, is it going to help us build the brand? So any insert that we put in is not necessarily a sales piece. It's when a customer sees this and they open the box, it's not saying, "Oh, you can get 15% off your next order," or whatever, or anything like that. It's actually, we have this lovely foiled insert that has like our range in, and it explains kind of like the cocktails that we're supplying and the brands we're working with. And it's kind of nice gold foil that matches exactly kind of what's on our, on the labels and things. So anything that's in the box is more to do with, is it cool, basically? Like, are people going to look at that and go, yeah, they've thought about this a lot. Like, they've put a lot of thought into this. Like, even the language that we use on the boxes, for example, like we've got, we use like save the shaking for later instead of like, this side up, for example. We have a lot of kind of like stuff like that. And that's the kind of thing that I think people notice and it resonates with them. And then it's like, the brand is good. And then 2 weeks later, they'll just get an email saying like, you've probably had a chance to try your cocktails now. What do you think? Give us some feedback. We're not saying, order this, order that. We're sort of communicating with them a bit, essentially.
It feels like you're doing a lot more, I guess, kind of pulling than pushing here in terms of how you approach it.
Yeah.
But I know, Peter, I think you wanted to ask Tom about the inserts, didn't you?
Yeah, I feel like we downplaying these inserts here. A little birdie told me that you guys are actually doing handwritten notes, and you have been doing from the start. And how does at the scale that you guys are doing this now, how do you scale that? And do you still think there is a return on investment with what you're doing there?
It's a good question on how to scale it. If anyone's got the right answer to that, I'd love to hear it, to be honest. It's a tricky one. So we because we're the kind of business technical term for this is kind of like we're completely like vertically integrated. So we produce all the cocktails, we pick and pack, we dispatch, we do the customer service, we do everything ourselves. And because we kind of bootstrap from really tiny company and we've kind of just grown organically, we've just carried on doing the handwriting. And we haven't stopped doing it. And it works really well because I think, if you get like a handwritten note from someone, it feels so much nicer than something that's printed. Even if the printed one is slightly personalized, it's still come from a printer and you can still tell. So we make an effort to do the handwritten notes in every single one. We've tried like a few machines. There's a machine called like a cry cut machine that you can kind of, it will hold a pen and it will kind of do that. And it ended up just taking longer than the handwriting.
Really?
Yeah. So there's kind of stuff out there, but we just decided like handwriting's good. And it takes like, we've had to improve this over time because you'd get like essays sometimes. You'd be like, we've got this tiny, like, and you're just like, some of the stuff you would see and you're just, that's an A4, that's a book. How are we going to write that? So we've had to kind of, reduce the character limit down to something that fits on a small card. So it probably, it takes a minute at max to write it. The piece of card costs us 15 pence. It's quite a nice piece of card, but it's quite small. And I think it just works really well.
Who's coming up with the copy that you're putting on there, or is it just like off the cuff? This is what we're going to write on this one.
Generally, so to be honest, we get a lot of gift notes anyway. So like it's a giftable product. So a lot of our orders do just come with the gift notes anyway. And then there's other ones where we'll kind of like, if it's just a first customer, like it'll just be like something short, something nice, just saying like, thanks for your order and enjoy your cocktails or something like that.
Okay.
If it's a repeat customer, again, it's just it's really generic most of the time, but it's just nice to see. You pick it up and you say like, "Oh, cheers! Like someone wrote this for me. That's nice."
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. I like that. It's a nice little touch, and that unboxing experience is that little note just adds that a little bit more of that wow factor and that dopamine hit, and it's awesome to see that type of thing. So, just like on that note of what you guys are doing there, I heard another rumor that you actually look for people with penmanship when hiring. Is this true?
Yeah, well, it depends. Well, for the roles of like the packing, so most of the time we kind of have enough. We have one person who kind of just does the printing, gets all the labels out and things like that, and we'll just go through. And she's got great handwriting, so she'll do most of them. At Christmas, it gets a bit trickier because obviously we do so many orders at Christmas and we have to get temp staff in and things like that. So essentially we have to work out which ones are great at handwriting. So you kind of, we try to get the same temp staff. It's quite challenging, like doing this yourself. It was not just doing it yourself. So I imagine other kind of distribution companies have the same problem, right? If you have to have a certain amount of staff throughout the year, as soon as it gets to November, you need to almost triple that amount of staff, probably more than that. So it's then like we have to see which ones of those we just sort of like check the handwriting, and then it's like, okay, you're on this station because you can do some handwriting, and then like your handwriting not quite as good, so you're gonna strap up the outer boxes and post them there basically.
I mean, Tom, if we did that blend, me and Peter would definitely be strapping at the boxes because
same.
Like a 4-year-old. Actually, literally, like put people off from buying from us if we had a bit of product business. So.
If we were writing handwritten notes to our customers, that they would think that there was like 5-year-olds running the company.
I'd probably think it was a Mandarin.
The thing is, you could just say, we brought our kids in and they did it. Like, we pay them their pocket money. Yeah.
We would get away with that, I think. So just one last question on these handwritten notes, and you've obviously mentioned that they're gift notes. There must be an internal log or something about some great gift notes that have come through, and some running jokes or anything about some cool messages.
Oh, we get loads. There was one about what did it say? It was something along the lines of, I'm assuming I can say this on here. Let's get drunk and bonk was one. And it's like, we get so many that you're just a bit like, oh god, so like just a bit risky. And then what else? We do get some that are quite like cute. Some people send themselves cocktails as a gift. So they'll write
Nice.
like a little note to themselves, like "Happy birthday to me." When we see those ones, when we see those types of ones, we usually chuck in like we do some like gift chocolate and things like that as well from a company called Pump Street. So if we see they've written themselves a note, we'll write their note, and then we'll write our own note, and then add a chocolate bar, for example, to say like, "Happy birthday," etc.
That's a good note to everybody listening. If you want some freebies from Tom, just
Yeah,
make sure you write yourself a birthday note.
yeah.
He feels sorry for you and he sends you more.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that actually. Yeah. Our chocolate orders are going to go up for some
I mean,
reason.
yeah, on the live, I mean, we're screwed, Tom, because I mean, it's out there now, but we might be able to edit that part out. There's this whacking great big gap when it goes on to Apple Podcasts, so there might be very confused people. One of the things, that are the plays, I guess, sort of in the e-commerce space is that people do things like obviously subscription boxes, limited drops, sort of flavor polls, that sort of thing. In terms of those kind of activities, have you done any of those, and which of them you think kind of actually turns the dial the most on the retention lever?
Probably the limited edition cocktails. So one thing we have a bit of a challenge with is that we've kind of got two sides to the business. We have the e-commerce side, and we have like the trade side of the business. So what we've kind of learned is actually as soon as we do like a limited edition cocktail, it just sells out online. Honestly, the reorder rate is crazy. We didn't do that many of them last year. This year we've done a pina colada and a pink grapefruit margarita for the summer. We haven't been able to keep up almost. Like we've just kept running out. Like it just every time we put an email out for it. In fact, I'm getting in trouble today or tomorrow because we ran out of pink grapefruit margarita quicker than we should have done. So it's just like it's a constant pain. But as soon as we put anything like new online, people will order it, people will try it, and they'll go to like the liter bottle if they want to try it, or they'll order the 100 ml first and go for the liter. So one thing we've learned is just adding something new in a limited way is a great way of getting our customers, because the customers we've already got, they know the cocktails taste great, they love them. So we drop something new in that's the same price, and they just go, yeah, I just want to try that. So we would do more of it, and hopefully one day we will do more of it. Because that's our kind of biggest lever that we can pull to kind of get that repeat purchase rate.
And Tom, on the limited drops as well, I've always wanted to kind of ask this question to someone about limited drops, is that with those ones that you're doing, is the play here to kind of jump onto a trend at the moment to try and monetize that? Is it about, I guess, a little bit like with a chef's special in a restaurant, they have an abundance of a particular ingredient that we need to use, and then we turn it into a limited drop? Or is it kind of another, I just kind of like, and then all the other side of it is the idea that, look, you do the limited drop to effectively test market, and if that goes well, when that becomes a permanent part of the furniture, like how do you kind of look at that play as a tool?
To be honest, so it's probably part one and part three. So it's never to do with like using up stock. So to be honest, to be completely honest, like when we look at the limited edition slightly differently in terms of like we don't expect to make as much money from it because we can't buy as much bulk liquid basically, so the margins aren't quite as attractive for us. But what we definitely do is we definitely kind of like put it out there, and if it performs really, really well, we can then say actually like this is performing better than one of our core range, so let's pull this one in and let's pull something else out. And what that allows us to do is kind of keep a constantly evolving range of cocktails. So we're always, you might have one, we started off with like some that were maybe a bit like not the best cocktail, like not like, or it tasted good, but it just wasn't that popular for whatever reason it might be. Although we have had some that did actually not taste great, that didn't last us very long either, like a Manhattan. And then we can go, okay, well, this new one is amazing. We've wanted to get rid of this one for a while, swap it in. Like pink grapefruit margarita, we did this summer, for example, and it's probably now after the passion fruit martini, second, third most popular cocktail. So there's no way we're going to sort of stop that. So what we'll do is we'll add that into the range. I mean, at the moment, behind the scenes, we're discussing what to kind of drop. And in terms of like how we choose it, kind of trends, but also kind of just based on like we have so all of our cocktails are 100 ml, so they're all kind of like that size basically. So it's like a single serve. So what we can't do is kind of like long cocktails. So it has to be, we're kind of limited in a sense that it has to be the sort of cocktail that is shaken, poured over ice in a martini glass or in a rocks glass, etc. So we're already a little bit limited. And then we kind of just look at it and say, what can we make a really good quality version of? And we try a few, and then we just go with like something that tastes great. We always go liquid first. If it tastes great, we launch it. We kind of don't really, we don't really want to be too trendy. We want to be more kind of like classic, I guess, like timeless is kind of what we're going for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't see you guys doing woo-woos anytime soon.
No.
On, I guess the other side of it as well, I'm sorry, I've got a couple of questions on my mind now. On the question of non-alcoholic drinks, do you do non-alcoholic? What's the situation there with you guys?
We don't know. So to the trade, we sell another brand's non-alcoholic. And to be honest, it's a question we get asked all the time. There's a couple of reasons that we haven't done it. One is the production of non-alcoholic drinks is very different to the production of alcoholic drinks in terms of like food safety. So we're perfectly set up to make alcoholic drinks. We've got like Salsa, which is like the highest kind of food accreditation you can kind of get in the UK, for example. But non-alcoholic drinks require like either like pasteurization or lots of additives. So we haven't really gone down that route. And if we wanted to do it, we would have to outsource it. And realistically, we don't think it would add that much to what we're doing. Like I 100% agree that like non-alcoholic is important, but there's plenty of other brands doing non-alcoholic really well that we can sell and other people can buy. And I don't think there's any reason for us to really compete in that space. Not yet, anyway.
No, I mean, look, I think, look, I appreciate your honesty, and I think also that kind of like we're going to stay in our lane, because I think there is a danger with every business. And look, we've done this as an agency. Is that look, we tried to be everything to every person, and it doesn't work. I think the other side of it too is on obviously that kind of SKU collection as well. What I'm interested in, you said about dropping some of the cocktails you did have, because obviously you've got those two separate markets. Is the range that you think is possible with on-trade versus online, does the need, I guess, are you limited, do you think, to a certain number of SKUs for both markets? And are the markets different in terms of your offering to on-trade versus online, in terms of, maybe on-trade you could get away with doing 15 to 20 SKUs, whereas with online maybe it's 30. I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking about that in terms of the mechanics of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big challenge for us, actually. So trying to kind of get that balance, like in your previous question, I said online, basically, if we could launch a new limited edition cocktail every month and, do a very kind of traditional, once it's gone, it's gone. So we've made 1,000 of these, boom, once they're gone, they're gone. We're not making any more of them. You've got one chance to get them. Next month, we do the same thing, and we just keep, because there's an unlimited amount of cocktails you could do. You could do variations of what we've already done. There's all these kind of things. And we know that would work really well online. The only problem with that is we can't translate that into the trade, because, we do cocktail menus for them. It's harder for us to forecast how many of those trade customers are going to pick up the cocktail. Like, selling it for a month isn't long enough for them. Like, how do we communicate it to them all so that you'll get it in? So we're in this kind of, it's a little bit of a predicament at the moment. It's something we're talking about a lot, is do we need to keep online the same as like retail and on trade, or can we actually get away with going, the online is just going to be a little bit separate. We're going to run small limited edition batches specifically for the online that aren't going to be available to trade. But then you've got to get that balance, because you're going to have some of those trade customers go, well, why can't we, our customers are like that, why can't we have it? It's tricky.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, because I think that's something that a lot of brands that are kind of, I think, look, both omni-channel like you and also e-commerce kind of struggle with. It's, what is the right product selection? I think, look, in terms of this and today, when it comes to that piece about kind of, getting those one-time buyers into kind of advocates for the brand, we spoke about some stuff you're doing already. one of the other things I guess that is very tempting as a business, and look, again, we made this mistake, is that when you get that opportunity, you try and push upsells, you try and give them everything you possibly can. So, in your case, I guess, look, is it bigger bottles? Is it a mixed pack, whatever it might be? How do you get the right balance, or how do you decide on kind of, look, how do you leave them to kind of get along with enjoying that first drink versus pushing them then into an upsell situation?
Yeah, so interestingly, so to give you a bit of like context, our best selling product basically is a mixed box of 6. So basically what it means is a customer can come on, it's 600 ml bottles. It's kind of like a builder box. They can pick any of our 12 to 14 cocktails. It all comes garnished, etc. Like 90% of our sales is that box. So it's a real like hero product for us. What we actually find then is we go through like the post email, like post purchase email flows and things like that. So we ask them for their feedback. What we then do is we start going into the liter bottle. So we'll tie one of the 6 cocktails that they've ordered in that mixed box. What we'll do is we'll tie it into, you can also get that in like your favorite in a liter. And we see second purchases, the liter bottles go up massively. So if we were to take out all of the second purchases, we probably wouldn't sell any liters at all. It would be like 1 or 2 a year or something. If you look at repeat purchases, the liters are actually really popular because people find their favorite cocktail. So it's almost like we're sort of saying, I think it feels a little bit personal because we're saying, you've tried these, you can get your favorite one in a liter. So we're not just selling them something completely random. We're sort of saying, if you liked them, here you go. You can buy a larger bottle of it, basically.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Do you sell stuff online? Then you need OmniSend. Yes, that OmniSend. The powerful yet refreshingly intuitive email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 on average for every dollar spent. Like watching steady lines go up and up and up? Just automate your email and SMS campaigns with OmniSend. Set it up once, then sit back and watch the sales roll in while you snooze. You're still awake? Then go to omnisend.com/ECC. Give OmniSend a try and start getting sales so steady they'll definitely put you to sleep. Don't forget to use code ECC30 for a 30% discount.
So, Tom, mixing big batches of cocktails sounds very James Bond-like. It sounds great, sounds fancy and all the stuff, and probably wearing a bow tie. But I mean, ultimately, I'm sure it's not anything like that. And if a pump breaks or something like that, you guys have to get dirty and sort some shit out. So, what's been one of the biggest sort of production glitches that you guys have had, and how did you guys handle those issues that you've had and overcome that so that the customers didn't notice in the end? Or how did you make it right with customers if you did?
Oh, there's so many things go wrong.
Tell us the battle stories.
Yeah, to be honest, the biggest nightmare was like we'd kind of like last year we were scaling up quite nicely, and we had a huge Christmas plan, like way bigger than like we'd done before. And we had this machine at the time last year, this kind of like, it was a machine that was probably, an A3 size piece of paper. You'd put a bottle on it, you'd press a button, it would roll around, that would be its label, right? So it was like bottle on, press a button, label, done. And we were doing that for every 100 ml bottle. And it was like quite painstakingly long. We'd ordered the machine that could do like kind of capsuling. So it would do, basically you'd fill the bottle yourself, like with our filling machine. We do all that kind of stuff. It gets mixed by hand, filled, and then you put it on this conveyor and it goes through, kind of like what you'd expect probably. It turned up, we were like, okay, cool. Our entire Christmas plan was based around having this machine working. It turned up and it didn't work. Like, and we didn't have enough time. It was a little bit late. We were already in the full swing of Christmas, and we didn't even have enough time to stop production for a day to get this machine working. And it was absolute carnage. We didn't run out of anything or anything like that. It was just like we ordered another little machine, which cost us like £1,000. We had just people like pressing these buttons like one by one. And it was just, there's just so many things that kind of go wrong as you're scaling up. We also have like we're fortunate. So my dad was a mechanic. He now does like all our picking and packing for the trade. So he's in the office like 5 days a week. So all this machinery, he basically can fix for us. So we get out of all these kind of like holes quite easily because he can go and like kind of work out what's gone wrong, which is nice.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So that machine that you ordered that didn't work, was it just faulty, or did you have to send it back and get a new one, or was it just like, no, this machine just won't do the job that we're looking for it to do?
It just needed loads of setup, so we had to get these. So the 100 ml bottles we've got, they're like quite unique. Like, so if you're like filling beer or doing like, you know, like a standard 500 ml bottle or a wine bottle, there are so many machines that are made that just automatically do, they're set up for them basically. But because our bottle, we're the only people like doing the bottle that small, we had to have the machine made specifically for it. So it like got delivered from Italy, and it just required so much setup. It's working perfectly now, but it wasn't until Jan Feb when we actually had, you know, we were able to take a week off production to have someone from the company come around and set it up, etc., that we managed to actually get it working.
Yeah. So, and as you guys scale more and more, are there still opportunities for you to get better machinery, or have you guys already got like top of the range? You know, is there scope for you guys to continue to optimize?
Yeah, loads of scope to optimize, to be honest. You know, like the size of the mixing tank that we started off with tiny tanks. We do, I think it's 1,000 liters, the tank now. So there's ways to optimize that. There's ways to optimize the filling. So yeah, it's a slow process because like you've got to get the right balance of getting the machine at the right time and not just paying for it and not having the capacity. So it's kind of like, and also we don't want to. I'm a big believer, like, you know, we're a local company, so it's like we kind of do still want to be employing people. We've got some incredible staff, so it's kind of like we also then have to make sure that when a machine comes, the staff can transition into a different role. Does that make sense? It's not like, oh, all of a sudden we don't need the staff. It's like, okay, machine's there. There's other roles for the staff to take.
Yeah. Less tedious work or slower work, but still maintain your staff members.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So finding, I mean, to be honest, even the machines, you have to, it sounds simple, but you have to basically watch them. Like you have to have people standing there watching, making sure that, because if something goes wrong, and things go wrong on those machines all the time, so you have to be there, be ready for it, remove a bottle, you know, do quality control, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about your sourcing as well. Are you still sourcing everything locally, or wherever you can, or are you going, look, we do need to have bigger orders here. We need a supplier that can fulfill our orders as well.
Yeah, most locally is in the UK as much as possible. So we use like Sapling vodka. We use Suffolk Distillery. We use their rum, which is just down the road from us. Adnams, we use their gin and their whiskey. And basically, we're kind of, the difficult thing is we have to work. It's not difficult, but you're limited to who you can work with because they have to be able to supply us in 1,000-litre IBCs. So they have to essentially manufacture the product themselves, so that they don't bottle it. Like, you know, if someone else is doing it for them, the chances are it will just get bottled and, you know, packaged up and sent. So we kind of do a lot of that. A few things that we're still not getting from the UK, which we're working on. So bottles aren't from the UK, for example. Glass is really expensive to have made in the UK. But all these things get better with scale. So it's almost easier to run a slightly larger production business than it is a smaller one, because as soon as you start getting to a certain scale, glass companies in the UK will go, actually, now it is worth us working with you, kind of thing. And we're getting there. Hopefully, kind of like next year, we'll be at a point where we can transition more things to like UK. Like, you know, the same with sustainability, right? It's like when you first start, you kind of have to pick and choose what's just available off the shelf. Like you don't have the buying power. As soon as you've got the buying power, you can start saying, we want recycled cardboard. Like we want it slightly smaller, which is going to save even, you know, it's like we're not shoving things to the side of, we're not shoving plastic in the side of it anymore. We're just having the box made smaller, which is saving the plastic and saving the additional cardboard. All of that kind of stuff you just start to get with scale, which we're kind of getting to at last.
Yeah. And is it important for you guys, for your positioning, to try and make this more local, try and make it more UK based with all your suppliers as well?
Yeah, as much as possible. And I think like it resonates with the kind of customers, our consumers. Or I mean, I think it resonates with pretty much everyone in the UK now, doesn't it? Like, if you're able to support other local businesses, like a lot of our marketing as well is around where we're, who we're working with. Because if you pick, I mean, to be honest, if it kind of helps, it does a little bit of your marketing for you, right? If you're saying Sapling Vodka, right? Amazing vodka brand, like really sustainable, planting trees, doing everything right, like great team of people behind them. Their marketing's amazing. We can leverage their marketing for ours because we can say, we're working with these guys, look what they're doing. And then people just look at what they're doing and go, okay, well, if Edmunds are picking the right partners, then I can kind of trust them, basically. Like we're fully transparent about where we get everything from. And that builds trust with consumers.
Yeah. Tom, you I take it that you are very meticulous with everything that you're doing. So I'm presuming that you got, with your batches and everything that you guys are producing, a meticulous QA process of what you're doing. Could you walk us through, and maybe for some other brands that are maybe looking to start out in this place, like what is your process of batch testing? What is your process of ensuring quality in your entire process of developing a product?
Yeah, so I'll start at so development wise, we basically start out really simply. So we don't go to, like, a lot of people use kind of like labs and like, flavor developers and things like that, and they'll go to those and they'll work that out. We do it completely differently. We basically make a cocktail, find the right recipe, and then we work out how to kind of like preserve it and make it last, basically. So we find the cocktail. Once we're happy with the cocktail, we send it off so we make it, we then send it off to a lab to have accelerated like shelf life testing done. All of them get 18 months. So if it doesn't get 18 months, we then work on it again. We get some advice from them. It's usually things like changing the pH level, for example. That's really, really important for like the longevity of the drink. Usually we get it right. Like we've got to the point where we've kind of got a set of rules. That means we usually get it right first time, which is great. If it doesn't, we adjust it slightly. And then from there, like on a day, so we make cocktails 5 days a week. So we kind of every single day, there's at least one batch of cocktails being made. It's a case of measuring out all the ingredients. One person will do that. 2 people will pour the ingredients in, and you'll basically tick it off the list. So it'll be like, is all of the vodka in? Tick, like check it off. And then you check the empty canisters as well. So it's like check them at the beginning, check them at the end. Once it's all in, it gets kind of like mixed. So there's a few things we do. We infuse flavors. So that's done overnight, actually. So that's always done a bit earlier so that it gets, like, take the mojito, for example, load of washed fresh mint sits in it, it gets sealed overnight. We then pull all the mint out and strain it, etc. Same with like the old fashioned has like oranges in, Negroni has oranges in and things like that. So we don't use like artificial flavors. Once that's done, it's a case of all the ingredients going in, it gets mixed around. We then test the pH level. So we know from the original kind of test batch that we do at the very beginning that has the 18-month shelf life, etc. So we match, the pH level has to match up to that, basically. And that's how we know that it's exactly the same product. So if that's the case, we then kind of crack on, we bottle it, we label it. So we're South accredited. So this is pretty big for us. It means we can kind of sell to pretty much anyone, but all of the product that goes into the liquid has a batch code on from wherever we bought it from, and it's fully traceable. So we know we put the batch code vodka into our liquid, we record that batch code. As our labels are being printed, a batch code goes onto the label. We can then trace through our kind of like software. We use a piece of software called like Unleashed, basically. We can look at any single batch and we'll go onto that and say like, okay, let's say it's 001. We can go into Unleashed, we go batch 001. It will tell us every ingredient that's gone into it and their batch. So it means we can then go back to the supplier. So it's like fully traceable. It's quite cool. It took us a while to get to that kind of level. But now we're there, it gives us like huge confidence that, like, I mean, nothing's ever gone wrong, fortunately, but like if something ever was slightly off, we could go, okay, you guys need to go and check your batches and see if we can kind of find the problem.
Yeah, geez, that's a really good tracking that you've got in play there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it like I said, it took us a while to get to, but when you start working with bigger customers, it's essentially like a requirement, right? So we're like a food and drink product, so there's allergens involved. It's actually really, really important that everything that we're putting into it is exactly what we're expecting. If we get something, if one of our suppliers makes a mistake, like, you know, the downstream consequences of that could be pretty huge. So like, it's so important that everything we check on, like, you know, so let's say that we know we've put the exact same ingredients in a batch that we always put in and the exact same measurements of everything, but the pH level is off. The only thing that could have gone wrong is one of the ingredients that we've put in from one of the supplies we use is not the same as what we usually get. So it's really like, so yeah, it's good to be traceable. We've never had a problem, fortunately, but like knowing that that's there is really important.
Yeah, that's also a nice safety measure.
Yeah.
Tom, Peter was talking earlier on about obviously you know, the locality and thinking about that kind of aspect of it. Obviously, look, there's been a few brands that are alcohol brands that are very different to you guys on Shopify, like AU Vodka, for example, who have gone into the US and all these other kind of markets. You obviously are a very different brand to AU Vodka, but what I wanted to ask about is that from your perspective, in terms of appetite for overseas, is there an appetite for you to sell overseas? Are you doing any overseas at the moment? Like, what's your kind of feeling on that?
Yeah, good question. There is eventually, I think. For me, like you mentioned it earlier, it's about like focus. So not going into non-alc is because we want to focus on alc because that's what we're really good at. Like, you know, we've found something we're good at. Let's like stick to it. Let's not kind of like start trying to change other things. There's so much opportunity that we haven't found in what we're currently doing with alc. Doesn't make sense to do non-alc, right? Like if we get to a saturation point and we can't grow any further, you add a product, add something new. But until you're at that point, carry on as you are. We almost see the UK as the same. The market opportunity in the UK is enormous. And I think too many brands start to get a little bit like excited about going abroad and saying, "Oh, I do that there." But the thing is, if you do that, the opportunity cost is huge because you're splitting time, you're splitting available capital. Like everything that you're kind of doing in the UK doesn't necessarily translate exactly the same. So our kind of short to medium term goal is the UK only, like really kind of get there, become like a well-recognized brand in the UK, take all of our learnings from the UK and also get to a point where we're comfortable in the UK. Like we're still not a huge brand. We're not a big brand even probably. Get to a point in the UK where we're like, actually, like we've got a really, really good business here. It's almost running itself now. We've kind of got to a point where the growth is slowing down. Now let's look at something else. Let's kind of, do we add a product in the UK or do we go, we can now put a bit of focus somewhere else. Let's find another market that we can replicate what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's an interesting one actually, isn't with international expansion, because I've been to quite a few events that have been run specifically around this, either exporting into the US or just kind of a general international expansion. And I think, you know, this is the thing, is that I always find those events, when people come into them, they get very excited about the prospect of, you know, shipping it to Italy and shipping it to the US and whatever it might be. But actually, when they go and do kind of the unit economics on it, it doesn't actually make sense. And actually, they're better off in some instances to go deeper within the markets you've got. And I think it's kind of that balance, isn't it? I think with anything in business, there are certain things that, you know, from a vanity perspective, may seem like the right thing to do and you know, outwardly look the right thing to do, but from a profitability and growth point of view, sometimes the less sexy stuff is often the thing that can be more profitable.
Yeah, 100%. We talk about vanity stuff quite a bit, to be honest, because as a kind of business owner, there are so many things you could do that would just be pure vanity, right? There's like people you want to work with, there's like shops you want to be in, there's restaurants and pubs and bars, and it's like, oh, we could just do that at like cost, and I could just tell people I'm in there. That'd be cool. Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many of those sort of things, and like we always take a step back and we're like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the purpose of this? Like, as a business, what do we want? And does it align with what we want as a business? Or is it just going to take us a load of time? It's going to cost us a load of money. And basically it's just going to like sound good next time we're at a dinner party. Like, and we kind of avoid that kind of stuff. It kind of, to us, it comes back to focus, and I think that's such an important word when you're running a business.
On that point, Tom, I'm glad you brought this up, and that point about chasing after that kind of dream client. Do you think that maybe sometimes that because of the kind of individuals that you sell to, and particularly from an on-trade point of view, do you think there sometimes could be, if you did have a massive chain brand on there, or whatever it might be, a name, could that be detrimental to you? Because in the agency world, we've seen that can actually happen, in that people look at, if you've worked with a big name, people think, oh, well, look, either they're not the right agency for me, or they're not the right brand for me because I've worked with these guys because they're too big, or that's not. So do you think the same applies from a product level as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, because of our pricing, we almost exclude ourselves from those conversations. And it's not like a kind of snobbery thing, almost like our liquid costs too much to make. So anyone that wants to sell a cocktail for £6 or £7, like the margins don't work for our product. There's nothing we can do about that. We have looked at kind of doing slightly different. This comes back to focus again, actually. We've looked at doing kind of like white label, unbranded, different liquid, high volume for those customers that are doing £6, £7, 2 for 10, that kind of stuff. But actually, like the reward for doing it is so low, and it's a lot of work, like in the margins. And for us, as soon as you start trading on price and you're starting to get to the bottom, someone with deeper pockets there's always someone with deeper pockets than you, right? So someone's going to come in and say, I want that business, I'm willing to do it for break even for 12 months, and then I'm going to make like 10% next year, and it's going to be great eventually. So we almost exclude ourselves from those kind of conversations anyway, really.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right, Tom, we're coming towards the end, so we're going to move into the Q&A and some quick fire questions for you. So if we spot any of the Q&A, we'll chuck those in there as well. But we've got a couple pre-planned there. If you could whisper one sentence to 2019 Tom, bottling Negronis in your kitchen, what would it be?
Ooh, probably think bigger. We were extremely we weren't thinking big enough, to be honest. I thought we were going to sell to a few local pubs, and the business took on itself. So I think if we'd been more ambitious from the beginning, we could have grown a lot quicker.
Do you think you would have, though, or do you think that maybe that would have put a bit more pressure on yourself?
I think we probably would have been more pressure, but I think we would have grown quicker. Like, I think like if we'd taken the leap to go full time on it like straight away. Like for example, like we bootstrapped. We didn't. We spent less than £5,000 starting the business, for example, and we went 2.5 years without getting any more cash. So it was just constantly recycling the money. If we'd had the right ambitions, we probably could have got like a government startup loan, not huge, like 50 grand, quit our jobs immediately and moved much quicker or something like that. So yeah, I'd probably say like be a bit more ambitious with it.
Yeah. And you guys are raising at the moment, right?
Well, just closing. Yeah, we've just closed. So yeah, it's our first sort of real round. We did a friends and family round at the beginning of last year. We're just closing up now, kind of what would you call it, like a seed round, I guess.
Oh, awesome. Has it gone well?
Yeah. I'm not from the kind of background that like raising money is natural to me, so it's been a bit challenging, and I've gone from knowing absolutely nothing about business, like investments and finance and that kind of stuff, to knowing a fair deal.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, 5 years ago, I didn't realize you could get people to pay you to start a business. To be honest, I didn't realize investment was a thing at small scale. So yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's go for. You've already dropped a nice lesson there with people to be more ambitious when they're first starting out. I think what's the biggest misconception potential drinks founders have about easy growth?
Probably that adding accounts will just compound your sales. So just saying like, oh, I've got 1 account now, 2 accounts, 3 accounts. Now I've got 100 accounts, and you're just going to keep growing those accounts, and the rate of sales just going to keep staying the same. I think like we learned quite quickly that good old fashioned account management is really important. So going and talking to your customers, doing sampling sessions, doing cocktail training, cocktail menus, making sure that they're happy with you, and you're doing everything you can to get the rate of sale up. I think probably it's a bit, we looked at it too simplistically in the beginning, just sort of saying like, we'll get X amount of customers, it'll be X amount of revenue. Whereas in reality, it's very different to that.
And then worst bit of D2C advice you've ever taken?
Make a website with Squarespace, I think, was the biggest thing. I had. Well, like,
Shopify going, yes, Tom. Squarespace going, right. Never drinking an Edmunds cocktail ever again.
The website looked incredible. It was like, and the platform was amazing, right? It was so good. But in terms of what we needed to like start scaling and the integrations with other apps and that kind of stuff, it's a brilliant like platform. I don't think it's quite right for an e-commerce platform that wants scale at any kind of level, really, like a bigger level, or wants any kind of real customization, that kind of stuff. I think
it's outgrowing of it, isn't it? And like you say, it is a great platform when you start out.
Static website's great.
It's amazing, like, and it's so easy to use. It was a piece of cake. Like it was so intuitive, it was so simple. But yeah, it was probably quite a costly mistake, because then we had to port everything over and have something else made on Shopify.
Yeah. All right, and on that note, let's end off with the cocktail that best describes 2025's e-commerce year.
Probably our pink grapefruit margarita. It's been a sunny year so far, and it doesn't really get much more summery than a margarita. So we're getting a load of sales. We've got like quite tropical imagery and stuff like that, and I think it's really getting people to like order it. Basically, that and the pina colada, both of them have done really well.
See, Tom, I was going to say dark and stormy, because A, it's my favourite cocktail, and B, I think it's reflective of how some people are feeling at the moment. So I'm great that you're the opposite, which is wonderful.
Yeah, try to be optimistic.
It's definitely seeing the good side of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tom, thank you so much for the insights today. Look, it's been a pleasure listening to you and learning about your great story and everything that you guys are doing. And look, we wish you all the best. I think you are going to go from strength to strength and start believing more in yourself, because I think you are going to grow a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, lovely. It was great to meet you both, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you, Tom. And obviously, if people want to get in touch with you, find out more about Edmunds, what should they do? Where should they go?
Edmundscocktails.co.uk. You can go on there. You can kind of order, like I say, mixed box of 6. It makes a great gift. Grab a handwritten note from one of the team, and then get some free chocolate. I'm gonna have to talk to Pump Street now and get some more chocolate in, aren't I? But yeah, you can find us online. Please give us a try. It's
Excellent.
great.
Thanks so much, Tom. And guys, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to us this week. If you have liked what you listened to, do us a like or review on the listening platform of your choice. And we'll be here again same time next week with the eCom Collab Club podcast. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the eCom Collab Club podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join our community at ecomcollabclub.com/community.